drinking wouldn't have allowed me to explore this other area of me, and kind of was keeping me at this level. Like drinking, when you're drinking a lot, never elevates you. It never progresses you forward. All it does is just keep you here. Keeps you here. You know, you never have heard anybody ever say that I am really glad I started drinking again. Nobody's ever said that, because there's no reason to be glad. If you've stopped and you've seen the positive aspects that drinking has made towards your life being improved in every way, shape, or form, it's like there's no reason to look back. And that's where I'm sitting right now. I'm really not even like, oh, I'm 100 days sober, I hope I can make it 100 more. I'm almost like drinking isn't even a thing for me anymore. I don't drink, and life has gotten so much better without drinking in every way. So I know a lot of people hit me up on Twitter about being sober. I know a lot of people always ask me questions about it. So I've been thinking about this for a long time. I want to form a place where people can get together and talk about issues with addiction. It doesn't have to be limited to alcohol. It can be any other addiction. I know there's every addiction out there. And even if you're having a hard time in life with depression, if you're having a hard time in life with your family, with work, anything, I know that everybody needs somebody to talk to, and not everybody has somebody to talk to. So I'm going to use Ruin Your Day as a platform for that. Every week on Wednesdays, I haven't decided a time yet, probably around 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to have Ruin Your Day live for an hour. And basically what's going to be happening is the chat is going to be live, and that's going to be used as the floor for everybody to talk. I might be on a video feed answering questions to the chat. I might pull up some music that Ruin Your Day made to play. I might play some video in the background. It's going to be sort of a free-form vehicle type of feed. There's not going to be really a set thing that we're doing. The only thing that I want to go on is I want people to feel like it's a safe place to come into and talk and vent, talk to other people, maybe give advice. I'll be in there if anybody wants to ask any questions about being sober. I can give whatever advice I can for that. And yeah, essentially, I just think there needs to be a place like that. I think AA works really well for a lot of people because it's a community. It's a strong-knit community. You have a sponsor that holds you accountable for not drinking. You have other people that are going through the same thing as you. You realize there's a whole world out there of people that just don't drink. And that's rare these days, honestly. So I want there to be a place like that on Ruin Your Day that's doesn't have to be just limited to alcohol. It could be anything. You know, like my parents went through some heart problems this year, and that really devastated me. So, you know, I needed somebody to talk to about that. My ex-girlfriend's dog that I really love got cancer. My close friend just had cancer. So it's been tough for me as well this year, and I'm really thankful that I've had Ruin Your Day to talk to you guys about battle rap and forget about the troubles in my life, but I want to give back, and I want to create a platform where we can all come together and sort of be each other's shoulder to lean on every now and then. So just wanted to make this video to talk about me getting sober, my experience with it. Honestly, to wrap this up, being sober is like probably the best thing that's happened to me in a long time. Me breaking up with my ex-girlfriend that I love to this day has been the best thing that's ever happened to me too as well. It's really like jump-started me to make big improvements in my life that I'm really proud of. And yeah, I mean, I think anybody out there that's struggling with addiction, the first question you need to ask for yourself, if you're thinking that you might have a drug problem, alcohol problem, any sort of problem, is if I'm asking myself if I have a problem, I might have a problem. Do you want to take the next step to solving it? Do you want to get clean? Do you want to get sober? And all I can say is being sober is amazing. It's great. I would never trade it for anything. It works really well for me. Other people can drink responsibly. I'm not one of those people. I can't drink responsibly at all. So yeah, guys, I just want to thank you all for helping me through my year of sobriety. You guys really made a huge difference in my life. I want to thank everybody out there that supported Ruin Your Day, all the patrons, all the people that did a watch episode, all the guests, all the people that tuned in for watch, everybody that bought merch, everybody that bought music. It means the world to me. So thank you guys. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ruin an Hour, a safe place to talk about everything from sobriety, addiction, depression, anxiety, balance in life. My name is Kyle Gray. We are live twice a week, sometimes more, usually Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and Sundays at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Today, we're joined by my good friend, Nick LUSH One. He's been a regular so far, and I want to keep this going as much as he wants to be on. I would like to have the door open for him. He's been sober for 6 months now. Super proud of him. Super fucking awesome. And today we're going to talk about resentments and amends. And also, everybody in the chat, if you guys have any questions, I will relay them to Lush. So feel free to talk amongst yourselves or ask questions. So, Lush, how you doing today, bro?
Man, I'm blessed. It's beautiful. In the midst of this quarantine out here, since I completed my program at the Sober Living, and now I'm back currently residing in Philadelphia with my fiance. And due to the fact I was just in Texas, we are on a 2-week lockdown. And
oh, I see. So you have to stay in a hotel for 2 weeks and just do nothing.
We're at the house. We're doing it at the house, but it's like Exhibit on Pimp Your Ride. You know, it's a quarantine inside a quarantine.
Okay, word. I feel that. Hell yeah. Well, dope, man. That's awesome. I'm sure that gives you a lot of time to kind of like think about the transition from each situation that you were in Texas into your current situation. So that's probably nice, actually, that you get that buffer instead of like boom, you're back into the thick of it.
It's you know what I mean. It's pretty intense, especially like the level of accountability of being fully immersed in a treatment center for 4 months. And then going, like, I'm glad that I got to have the opportunity to go to Sober Living, even though, it's inconvenient, and I would have liked to have been able to sleep next to my lady every night, and it's definitely taxing on her as well. She was a huge soldier throughout the whole process and continues to be a saving grace. But, it would have been nice to not have to sleep next to a bunch of dudes every night and hear them snore and all that. But, just the fact of, like you said, the transition of reintegrating into society, especially like going into treatment, there's no quarantine, there's no COVID, anything like that cracking off. And then as I get out, it's pretty much like a post-apocalyptic scenario, you know what I mean? Like going to a grocery store and it looks like Mad Max, like it's a lot to digest. So it was cool to be able to do that. And then again, now taking this step and being in a place where I'm somewhat isolated, don't really have, even if I wanted to use, I couldn't, you know what I mean? I'm in a house where there's no alcohol, no drugs, and it's there's no store within walking distance. Not that I would want to go, but just having that extra level of protection and security, it adds a lot to it.
Yeah, for sure. I could see that. That's probably like, a blessing for sure. So
I mean, the fact of the matter is, not to cut you off, but the fact of the matter is, if someone wants to use, they're gonna use. You know what I mean? Like
totally.
When I wanted to get high, there's rain, sleet, or snow wouldn't keep me from my goals. So.
Yeah.
And I have to look at sobriety the same way.
That's true. So resentments and amends. What do you want to discuss about that?
To me, so first of all, on the subject of resentments, they appear, and I want to discuss overall like what a resentment is, how that affects us as addicts, and what are the different tools via the 12-step program that I've learned on how to deal with resentments and just kind of circumvent that whole process. Not really circumvent, because you can't ignore it, you can't kick to the wayside. For me, I have to confront them head on, deal with them, and conquer them, or else they will eat my lunch. They will have total power over me. So, first of all, a resentment obviously is something that we're holding in some type of anger or feeling that towards somebody else that eats away at us over time. You know, they're very cancerous, and every single person has a lot of resentments, and they're toxic to anybody. But us as addicts and alcoholics, like it says in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, we don't we as addicts don't have the dubious luxury of resentments. They are the number one offender of alcoholics. They're the number one thing that will cause us to relapse, and very, very toxic and dangerous, and something that we need to address head on.
Yeah, for sure. Just real quick, Dawn asked you a question. She said, would you say it's more motivation or discipline that keeps you sober?
So, I mean, that's a great question. I would say, to be honest with you, wow, that's a really powerful question. I would say discipline, to be honest with you, because the motivation oscillates. The motivation is not always there. Sometimes we all get a case of the fuckets, you know? It creeps up, and we're just like, there's always a million excuses to go out and use and relapse. And if you want to have it, like I said, when you want to use, nothing can stop you. You know what I mean? Like, and so working a rigorous program of high accountability, spiritual accountability, and honesty, and like we discussed on previous episodes, having what I call spiritual currency in the bank. You know what I mean? Like doing my daily reprieve, doing my meditation and prayers, sending my nightly inventory to my sponsor, doing service work, talking to other addicts. All of this is what keeps me sober, because I don't always want it. Sometimes I'm not in the mood to be sober. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I wish that I could relapse, but when I'm working this program and I'm so deep, my discipline becomes as deeply ingrained as my instinct to use were beforehand, and my desire to go through the program of using on a daily basis, what that whole process is like. Waking up, calling my dealer, making moves so I can put myself in as comfortable a position as possible to get people off my back, so I can use with as little repercussions as possible, or sustain the illusion of my life so people aren't worried, so I can continue using. Like as much as that took out of me, like as much of my day was consumed by that, I have to have it consumed by recovery, whether I want it or not. So the discipline takes precedence over anything. It's just like working out, going to the gym. You might not want to do it, you know what I mean? But it becomes autopilot at a certain point.
Yeah, that's very true what you say. That's that's, of course, using the gym analogy resonates with me, but
of course
it's a good one. It's very true. It's like, obviously being sober and getting drunk, there is a humongous divide over which is more immediately pleasurable, and it's like a no fucking brainer, but it's like, if all you're doing in life is pleasure chasing, you're literally not living your life at your highest frequency. You're living your life at like the level of a fucking lizard, or like something that's just like all about what feels good right now, what feels good right now, what feels good right now. So yeah, I think discipline is an enormous part of sobriety, and motivation is too, but discipline keeps you there for sure. That's really true.
Using, for us as addicts and alcoholics, using was a spiritual experience. You know what I mean? Literally, like, this is the first time many of us felt complete. Our problems seemingly dissipated before our eyes. Like, everything that felt wrong was made to feel right. Like, all of those endorphins and dopamine were released, those chemicals, and we spent our lives trying to replicate that. Now, it might be a lot harder for me to get to that level without those, but I can now achieve spiritual experiences in a genuine, natural way that's not harmful to myself, not harmful to my body, and doesn't make me mistreat the people in my life, and continue to value and be grateful for what I have, which using doesn't do.
Yeah, that's really true. So when you talk about amends, like, have you done like all 12 steps?
Oh yeah, I've done all 12 steps. So when we were in treatment, we actually, and like everybody has a different way of going about it. Every sponsor that you work with or every treatment center is going to have a different approach, and there's no right or wrong. All I can tell you is what worked for me, and me having the privilege of going to a really in-depth and rigorous treatment center, which is essentially sobriety boot camp. Like the place that I went to, BRC is called, which is in Austin, Texas, is world renowned. You know, it's not the most expensive treatment center, but it's literally like a sobriety 12-step boot camp, and it's a place where people on Dr. Phil get sent. There was like 2 Dr. Phil people when I was there that they're actually homies of mine now.
Wow.
And yeah, and so it's no joke, and so the level of what we were told there, because we spend so much time, like we spend over a week on each step. So like what we're taught there is, by the time we leave, the amount of knowledge of the big book and recovery we have is equivalent to a master's degree.
Oh, wow.
So if I wanted to, I could essentially get a job at any treatment center in the country. You know what I mean? Like,
so for people that aren't familiar with the big book and the program, do you just want to quickly, like, don't even go into what the steps entail? What are the 12 steps?
The 12 steps are basically, it's a good question. The 12 steps are basically what the purpose of the 12 steps and the big book is to get us connected to a higher power. That's not on a religious basis, but it's getting us in touch with our spiritual selves and replacing the void that we were using to fill with alcohol and drugs. A lot of people don't realize that. They're just like, oh, this is like, it's basically at the end of the day, if you follow these steps and you follow the suggestions of the big book, you will stay sober. Most people that try to get sober, like, it's literally 85% of us don't, or more. It's, you know what I mean? It's, treatment has a 5 to 15% success rate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you follow the steps to a T, 100%, and follow the words of the big book, it's a 100% success rate.
Word. So I know that one of the steps, right, is making amends. I forget which.
That's the 9th step.
It's the 9th step, right? People say, isn't that one like the hardest one? People always say that like they get tripped up on that one.
I mean, like, that's a subjective thing. Everybody has things that are the most difficult. And actually, so of the 12 steps I was going to say earlier, we weren't able to actually go through. We did all the work around the 9th step when we're in treatment, but you can't actually do the 9th step because, you know, ideally you're supposed to make face-to-face amends or at the very least FaceTime amends, you know what I mean? Like, and
yeah.
Obviously that's kind of a little bit more complicated due to COVID right now and all that. So like that's and everybody's sponsor has different stipulations about that. But what we did at BRC was we actually wrote out amends cards. So we listed everybody. So the 8th step actually is you make a list of everybody that you have harmed and you need to make amends to. And then the 9th step is actually going ahead and doing it. So we took all of our 8-step amends, which actually stems from your 4th step resentment inventory, because the 4th step is making a thorough and fearless inventory of all of your past, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of your resentments. And what we realized through the 5th step, I know it's getting a little complicated now. We realize a lot of our resentments are based on things that we did wrong as well, and we realize our part. Now, there's exceptions to this rule, like if you've been abused, molested, raped, there's nothing you did wrong in that situation. You know what I mean? For
sure.
But 9 times out of 10, there is, like, the people that I'm resentful towards, I most likely had something to do with it to some extent. And, you know, let's say somebody was abused, they might not have, they obviously don't hold any blame in that, but then perhaps they've repeated this behavior to other people in their lives. You know what I mean? And these things become cyclical to a certain degree, and that's when you have to start looking at yourself and what your part is and all that. So those resentments often turn into a need to make amends, and not only, like, when you're doing your 4th and 5th step, you realize It's not only the people that you harmed that you need to make amends to, and not only the people that you're resentful towards, but all the other people that are residually affected by that. Like, let's say I need to make amends to my brother for how I treated him. What about how I treated his wife and his daughters? Now, these are casualties of my negligence and my actions that I then need to address. You know what I mean? So making amends. So this is something really important about making amends that I've noticed, and it's so timely that we are having this discussion today, because I actually had the pleasure to make an amends today.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, which was incredible. And
was it organic, or was it something that you kind of planned out?
It wasn't organic or gully. No, I'm just playing. No, it's something that this particular one is something that I've been praying on a daily basis for a long time. It was one of my biggest resentments and one of the biggest amends I knew I needed to make. Someone that I used to be very close with, we fell out a few years ago, and it's been a lot of turmoil and a lot of people negatively affected as a result. And it's, he wasn't talking to me. This person wasn't talking to me for a long time. And I had tried to reach out, but the damage had already been done. And today I reached out, and oddly enough, he decided, God bless him, that he was willing to talk. And I actually got the opportunity. And when I go into making amends, it's not to get some weight off of my shoulders. That can't be the intention, because, again, that's just selfishness. You know what I mean? This isn't about making myself feel better. Now, if that's obviously below the surface one of the intended results, like that's a great positive side effect. You know what I mean? But I go into events knowing that I've created negativity for this person and trying to offset that, trying to explain to them that I know that I've caused them harm, that I'm living life on a spiritual basis, staying sober, and I will not be able to continue to do that unless I make amends to you for the harm that I've caused. And then I list all the things and here's an important thing to remember. While I'm making this amends, I have my perception of the different ways that I've harmed this person. But there might be, due to my rampant drug use, which affected my memory. Wait, what were we talking about again? Affected my memory greatly. And also I just, might be so selfish and so in my head that I don't have a clear perspective of the harm that I've caused. So I know what I think I've done wrong, and I can list all of that, and then I'll be like, is there anything else? What am I missing here? Because how does this make you feel? You know what I mean? And then here's the most important part for me about making an amends. What I was taught, you have to listen. It's not just about talking. Then you have to sit there and listen. It's not about an apology. It's about making the wrongs that you created right. An apology might be part of it, but that's not what it's about. It's about, what can I do to make this right? So after I told this person all the things that I did that harmed them, and he was taken aback by the dialogue, obviously, but then he mentioned some things that I did that I wasn't even aware of how much they affected him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was an experience in and of itself. Then after that, you ask, what can I do to make this right? And so when I go into an amends, I don't even have an expectation that this person's going to want to talk to me. I don't have an expectation that this person is going to want to just accept, because I could have done horrible things to them and hurt them in a way that just a simple, hey, guess what? I'm sober now, so forgive me. And obviously, like, that sense of entitlement, it still exists, because I'm not perfect. I'm still a human being. And, old habits die hard, but sometimes they're on a respirator for a long ass time. And I couldn't I still have that sense of entitlement at times, and it still creeps up, and I want the world to just accept me back with open arms, and I'm a different guy now, and that was me then. I wasn't in my right mind. So I don't even but thus far, all of the amends that I've made have turned out to have ended with I love yous and, positivity and COVID hugs, social distance hugs and all that. And turned out to be, have yielded that result of forgiveness and acceptance and moving on and steps towards having a relationship again. Although that's never an expectation. If I have that expectation, it could be very disappointing, and that's not the right energy to bring into it.
Yeah, managing expectations. How do you deal with that? And really fast before we move on to that, Dawn asked you a question. Can someone who is not religious still work the program and have their own
Absolutely.
outcome?
1000%. In fact, there is a chapter in the big book called We Agnostics, and it's all about not only do you not have to be religious, you don't even have to believe in God for it to work. You know what I mean? Like, and your higher power can just be something within yourself, the desire to be a better person. You can make that your higher power. You can make, the self that you envision you being at your best. That could be your higher power, and striving to get to that point. Whatever it is, you definitely don't have to. It's not a religious-based program. In fact, it's not affiliated with any religious sect or denomination whatsoever.
Hell yeah. So how do you manage your expectations for life in general? Like you said, if like you're reaching out to make amends with somebody, it's like inherent to have that expectation of I hope they, accept me with open arms. Well, not with open arms, but I hope the conversation goes well. I hope that we hash it out, have a good therapeutic conversation, and we end on a better note than what we started as. How do you manage your expectations in sobriety in general?
I think the number one thing for me is accountability, and just having that realization that I caused this person this harm. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not entitled to their forgiveness just because I have this image of me, and now I think because I'm on this spiritual hilltop and I'm doing so great, and everybody should just cater to my sobriety. That's not a realistic expectation, and that's not living life on spiritual terms, and that's actually me still living within my character defects. That's still living within my stage characters. That's still me playing the victim and feeling entitled and deserving of other people's wanting just to have people act the way I want them to, and not respecting their own humanity and their own emotions. It happens to me all the time. You know what I mean? It happens to me in my relationship, and I need to check myself all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, my fiance is a human being. She's not gonna always, even though she's great, and we don't have problems like that, but she has her own feelings. She has her own emotions. It's not all about me and how I want her to feel, how I want her to act. I still need to put in the work. I still need to exert effort into spending quality time with her. You know what I mean? Things like that. It's not all about what I want, how I want her to be. That's very, very selfish. That's narcissism in its purest, most undistilled form. I think so. For me, the greatest tool I have for that, one of the things I wanted to touch on are beyond the 9th step. There's the 10th and 11th step, which is nightly inventory and continuing to take personal inventory, and utilizing the tools of prayer and meditation. So there's this thing called 10th. What the 10th step is pretty much that it's a tool for dealing with resentments, fears, and things of that nature. You know what I mean? Like, and dishonesty. Those are the 3 things. So the 10th step is a valuable tool because they say that on a daily basis you could do any step that starts with a 1. So that's step 1, which is admitting that we are powerless over drugs and our life has become unmanageable.
Yeah.
Step 11 is sought through prayer and meditation. You know what I mean? And the 10th step, continuing to take personal inventory, and the 12th step, carrying the message to other addicts who may suffer and doing service work, which is what I'm doing right now. Although it's a 2-way street. This benefits me, talking to the people and answering questions and helping people and spreading a message of hope and positivity benefits me as much as it does anybody who might glean some type of hope from these dialogues. And as far as what the 10th step does, any dishonesty that I have, be it big or small, be it something that I haven't gotten honest about in the past that is eating my lunch, be it if I told if I you know if I told my fiance that I didn't eat the last ice cream sandwich when I really did, you know what I mean? Like literally, I
Yeah.
know that might sound trivial, but that literally things like that, you know what I
Because
mean?
it stacks, is what you're
That
saying. It stacks the
I don't
small
have that.
lies. And like you said, I like this quote that you said, bad habits hang out like gang members. I love that
Yep,
quote. And that's
yep,
really fucking true, because once you start stacking those things, your inner circle, you start to act more and more in your inner circle, and that leads to just bad habits overall. And one of them could be using again. So
100%. And something that I realized as I was ready to actually traverse the murky waters of getting into recovery when I was in the depths of my addiction, it was like, right now, my life is complete shit. I am living on top of a mountain of my own shit. And I could either continue the shit or I could start shoveling it up and cleaning up the mess.
yeah.
As daunting of a task as that feels, but it starts with the first shovel, you know?
Yeah.
And that when I start, those dishonesties pop back up, instead of cleaning up, I'm now shitting again.
Exactly. Word.
And
Lucho asked a question. How do you go about making amends with someone who wants zero contact with you?
you got to get, I mean, for me, what I do in that instance, like, and I have amends like that. There are people that want zero to do with me, and I just have to continue. What I do is I continue to pray on it and wait. And whenever they're ready, I cannot force an amends upon anybody. You know what I mean? That's again self-seeking behavior, and that's obviously coming from a place of me wanting to make myself feel better. That's not what it's about. This process, it might take years. Like, I have a lot of amends to make. They're deep in the double digits, close to triple digits, and if I dig even deeper, I'm sure it's well into the triple digits. I have a lot of amends to make. I've made maybe 10 or so thus far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot more. So when people aren't ready, you know, it's like Bill Murray said in the What About Bob movie. Like, this person's phone, people are like phones, and this phone is temporarily out of order. You know what I mean? Like, you're not able to make that connection at the moment, and you're not able to get it off your chest when that person is willing and ready to talk to you, and they may never be. And all I can do is continue to pray about it, continue to put positive energy towards that, and hope for the best without expectations.
Yeah. So Dawn asked this question, and I think this is a really good one for everybody in the culture overall, especially with people dealing with sobriety. She says, how do you feel about the idea when COVID is over, getting back to the business of going to events and maintaining sobriety? How do you feel about that?
Well, since I'm working, if you had asked me that question the day I got out of treatment, you'd hear a much different answer, and I was a lot more apprehensive about that. Now I'm at the point where, I didn't get sober to live the life of a hermit. I got sober to do what I love to do, to be around the people that I love, to be around the culture that I helped cultivate and continue to be immersed in. Like, so 100%, but I just need to make sure that I'm there for the right reasons. I need to have a couple sober people around me in case things get a little bit hairy, to take a break, go outside for a second, dip, and come back. You know what I mean? Like, it's something that, I mean, how do you feel about that as someone that used to drink at events and, completely flip the script?
Well, I've been sober for 2 years now, so it's like I was sober before COVID happened. And I never really changed my environment when I got sober. And I don't know, I guess, like, it's hard for me to say this because it's like I feel like some people might take it as me being sort of elitist or like, oh, I'm unbothered, or not triggered. But like, nothing can trigger me to drink. At this point, I feel like I'm so far beyond that there would have to be some extreme trauma in my life, which is very possible, to push me there. And that certainly isn't me going to a battle event and seeing other people partake in drinking and getting drunk and stuff like that. It's never tempting to me, and I'm fine. And you know, I've been talking with a couple people about this recently, about how there's this expectation, and this probably resonates with you a lot. There's this expectation of you sometimes put on you when you are an addict to act a certain way. Oh, like Lush One is this crazy host. He's constantly acting wild. He's doing the craziest stuff. And then so when you go to these events, inherently you put that expectation on yourself because you think that other people are putting it on you, and really is coming from you. You know, that root is within yourself.
Right.
So
100%.
And people, I felt like I to be honest, when I got sober, like I was met with a lot of people saying like, whoa, there's so much more of you that comes out when you're sober now. Like I feel like I didn't really know you that well before, and now it's just like your personality. And especially with me going live so much, it's just been really apparent that I'm just like more me, you know. I'm just, and
right.
It's outward. Agree. So when I go to events, I don't ever feel, oh, I need to drink to, you know, be comfortable, or I need to do this or that and the other to be comfortable. Because to be honest with you, whenever I used alcohol as a social lubricant, it always went bad. Like it didn't go well for me, you know. In the moment, right. You're like, fuck, I'm cool, you know, because like nothing bothers you. You're cool as a cucumber when you're buzzed or drunk. But then like really you're not. Like in other people's eyes, or even in your own, when you look back on it retrospectively, you're like, fuck, that is not cool at all. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would attribute that to you having that, as we said again, to bring back this now cliche phrase that I've concocted, the spiritual currency in your bank. You know what I mean? Like you're sitting on some M's. And I feel the same way like about myself, in the sense that if I went to an event at this point, I'd be cool, because if I wasn't working a program, if I wasn't doing all the stuff that I need to do on a daily basis to maintain my sobriety and spiritual health, it'd be a much different story. And that expectation that you were referring to, like I'm still crazy. People are going to see me, and they might even think I'm high because I still have that energy, and I'm still I'm going to still react crazy to battles and have crazy intros and all that.
Yeah.
That's not going to change, you know what I mean? Like, but what's going to change is like, yeah, like you said, the expectation of people, like when people say, oh, like I've always wanted to take a shot or do a line or smoke a blunt with Lush One. At the end of the day, they'll still be fine without experiencing that. You know what I mean? Like,
for real.
At the end of the day, it was me using that as an excuse to even get more. That self-imposed pressure was really just me wanting to get fucked up at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's true. And
nobody
was a fan of you because you strictly did those things. Nobody ever, like, everybody that we like put on a pedestal that like, oh, Charles Bukowski was this crazy alcoholic. Nobody liked him because he's a fucking alcoholic.
Yeah, he's a great writer.
Yeah, he's a writer, and he's cynical, and that's what people are attracted to, not the addiction aspect of it. Even Hunter S. Thompson, even you, it's just like, nobody was like, oh man, Lush does drugs, that's fucking cool, you know. People are like, right. Lush is a fantastic host, he's a great cultivator of this culture, he's like put his stamp on battle rap as a whole, and it wouldn't be the same without him. That's why people love you, you know. So it's like when you rid yourself of the things that were ultimately just slowing you down, I think fans wouldn't be disappointed when they come up to you. If anything, I think you'll see that more fans just gravitate towards you in general because they want to just hang out with you, you know?
100%. And then on top of that, like, yeah, I'm way more present. And then like my music resonates a lot better. I'm putting out music that's way more true to my authentic self, that people are able to connect with on a much deeper level. And the music I've been putting out, people are showing it so much more love, and it's getting so much of a better reaction because it's me genuinely putting myself into it on all levels, and that all those things resonate far greater than whatever facade or affectation I was presenting in a drugged out haze. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real. And I think that can go far for a lot of people in the culture and just like anything in general. I feel like overall we're like at this weird stage of like kind of a spiritual awakening as a society. And I feel like this whole thing with a lot more people, I feel like getting sober. Maybe I'm just aware of it because I am sober.
No. Like there's like a whole health trend. It's like trending in Hollywood. Like people are going on a cleanse and doing this and that. Like it's all like there's definitely an awakening of sorts, and some of it may be contrived, but it's definitely happening.
Yeah, exactly. And it's there. I don't know. There's something to be said about that. Like that we're like shedding ourselves of the things that just didn't work for us. It's like the way our parents were raised, like the way that they were working, the way that their thoughts were, the inherent misogyny, racism, like like the aspect of like men were just supposed to work insanely hard and then come home and just drink, and the wives are supposed to just be cool with being abused and ignored. It's like it.
Oh, you mean there was something wrong with the people that had whites only diners? Come on. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, for sure. But it's like it is cool to see that that's changing, and like I do kind of notice it even within battle rap, like your journey, like also like far beyond this, like Caddy's journey, even he was kind of the first one. And then like people getting healthy, it's like Jim's getting healthy, Shadi Hora getting healthy. The biggest one is Suge losing a tremendous amount of weight really fast. It's like
right.
It's just amazing for people to attach themselves now to like, okay, I'm gonna start being good to me, and doing things that are like really just good for myself. And it's cool that we have these tools like social media, which can be villainized and can be canonized into something negative, but if you use it to spread in a message of positivity and something that you're really doing good for yourself, it is truthfully infectious. It's like I've definitely seen it with you when you're posting about it. I've definitely seen nothing but positive comments about people being like, I love to see Lush like this. Like just in the chat, Psychosis was just saying that he's like, this is the Lush one that we've always wanted to see. So it's like, it's resounding, and it's like it creates this ripple effect, which is like great. And I just feel like that just stacks more and more.
Absolutely. I mean, like, shouts to Psychosis, that's my dog. But that's social media is pretty much a reflection of society. So it's whatever you want to make of it. It could be hate-fueled vitriol if you want, or it could be something very positive. It just depends on what you choose to tap into, what you choose to portray, and all of the above. Like just like the real world, especially at this point, people are more drawn to social media because we have far less human interaction.
Yeah.
Like I've only seen 2 human beings in the past week.
That's
literally.
Wild. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. So just not to backtrack, but just to kind of I never really finished discussing certain elements of the 10th step. I wanted to touch on, because this is how I deal with resentments on a daily basis. Okay. They pop up, and those expectations of people like, hey, how come certain homies haven't hit me up? How come I'm not interacting with certain people? How come this hasn't happened? How come I'm not getting this reaction from this person? This person's not tweeting about my music. This person is still talking shit and living in resentment, even though I'm not perpetuating the animosity. And why is this person all of a sudden, who I was totally cool with, why'd they unfollow me on social media? What did I do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and all of these feelings, what I'll do with them is the 10-step inventory. So basically, just to run down what that is real quick. Anytime I'm, like I said, a dishonesty, a resentment, or a dishonesty or resentment. Anyways, dishonesty, resentment, and there's another thing too that and basically, so what I do is first I list what it is. I talk about it with another person in recovery. Then I'll look at what was my part in that. I'll bring, I did this to this person. I lied to this person. You know what I mean? Like, I manipulated. I was, I can see why this person's mad. Then I pray about it. You know what I mean? Or if you don't like pray, meditate, whatever it is, and then Then here's the key step: in order to offset that, I do some service work, do something to help somebody else, and that's completion of the 10 steps.
Amazing. That's great. You do that whenever you feel any resentments coming up in your day to day?
Anytime they pop up, I should do it more, but anytime they pop up, I try to do it. And if I don't do that, I put them on my nightly inventory, at the end of every night. Sometimes I do it the following morning. I'll reflect on my day, and this is part of the 11th step. I'll go and I've done this literally every single day since I've gotten sober without fail. Not everybody does, but I find it an essential part of my regimen. I list, like, how was I resentful throughout the day? Like, how was I dishonest? Like, I list all these things. There's a template. There's a really good app. It's called My Toolkit, My Spiritual Toolkit, and that is available on iPhone. I'm pretty sure Android too. It's a free app, and it has the template for the 11-step nightly inventory. Even people that aren't in recovery, I encourage to do this because it's a good way to reflect on your day and what, really analyze how you showed up throughout the day. And so I do that, and then just even writing that out and then sending that to my sponsor, I feel it takes away a lot of the power. If I'm not verbalizing it, if I'm just holding it inside, it's eating my lunch and taking all my power from me.
Yeah, I can see that. It just becomes this big thing, That's true. That's really true. So you've been doing that every day?
Every day, without fail. It's a vital piece of my recovery.
How do you list them out? Do you, physically write them down?
So, like I said, I use this app, and that app, when I was in treatment, I was writing it out. We had, basically forms, and which it's all based on a template that's in the big book, but I would just fill that out, you know what I mean? And now I just use the app, write it on my phone, then I export it as a text message, send it to my sponsor.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazement. Yeah, I mean, resentments are definitely something that if you let gain power, they become this humongous monster. And then I've definitely felt it. There's been times where I'm just I'm just stacking resentments now. And then you just get in this negative mood, and it's I'm doing this to myself by letting these just gain so much weight in my mind and in my heart, Wow.
And then often at that point will come out in a passive aggressive manner. Yep. And you'll come out towards somebody that doesn't deserve it, or you know what I mean? It'll inhibit any potential growth you have with these people that you have resentments towards, even if you don't want to have those feelings. They pop up, you don't address them, and then it's just like a stain. The relationship is tainted until you honestly address it and get through that.
Yeah, that's really, really true. That's just definitely something that I need to work on for sure. I need to work on voicing resentments before they gain a lot of weight and a lot of power and control.
And I think that's something I've noticed about you, not to take your inventory, but because you're a very nice person and you're a people pleaser, mm-hmm. which is a good thing, but could actually be detrimental at a certain point, because you want to help people to the point where you're not taking care of yourself, and then instead of verbalizing that, it'll wind up eating your lunch, and then then you'll wind up having a resentment towards that person, which is not what you want,
Yeah, and, exactly. They don't deserve that either. If it was never
and I can
verbalized.
see it in you, because I'm the same way, 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
It's happened to me countless times.
Yeah, for sure. Did getting sober help you navigate that? Was that something that it had helped a lot with? That's interesting.
I had zero awareness of the concept. You know what I mean? I knew what it was to be resentful, but I didn't know how to address it, how to deal with it, and I knew what it was I knew that I had people pleasing tendencies, and but I would never actually do anything that try to act on it. It would just literally consume my entire existence.
For sure. It's interesting, when you talk to somebody like yourself that is going through such a spiritual awakening and just really a coming to God within yourself, of knowing yourself a lot more. And it's just fascinating because I think people don't realize that getting sober helps with so much more than just like just not using. You know, it's like that's
Right.
sometimes that's even like just the, oh yeah, I don't drink anymore, but there is so much other work you do on yourself, you know.
That's called white knuckling. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you're not just because you don't use doesn't mean you're sober. Doesn't mean you're operating at that higher frequency. Doesn't mean you're being your best self. Now, obviously, it's a great and imperative step towards that, but there's so much more to it for me. If I just wasn't using and I was continuing just to operate in the same manner I was, I'd probably be even more miserable than I was when I was using. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't have gained any mechanism to deal with it, and now I'm just deep in the spiritual malady, feeling horrible, and I don't even have a way to get my rocks off. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with it in any capacity.
Yeah, for sure. What was the name of that app one more time?
It's called My Toolkit, my spiritual toolkit. 2 things to search up, and it'll pop up.
Word.
Well,
If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask Lush. We're about 10 minutes out. Since you've been in Philly, I've seen a lot of you posting about how the food is incredibly unhealthy there, which, you know, I definitely know, and I'm very aware of how everything is bad for you and fried, and it's so difficult.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's good. I'm Italian. You know, my fiance is Italian, and there's nothing but delicious Italian food everywhere. Cheesesteaks, things like that. So it's something. You know, she's been a lot better than I have. She eats a lot healthier than I do. She's my inspiration in that regard. But me, I've been having a rough time. I was really strong on my gym regime. I was in great shape, and then already the gut is coming back. The famished third world body of skinny fat is rearing its ugly head. I think I might be like 2 months pregnant now, and yeah, it just took. It's been a week and a half out the gym, and like I think it's definitely contributing to my sanity and lack thereof to a great degree. I need to change that, but you know, we just got Marissa just cleared out the entire basement. She ordered some weights. We got a treadmill set up in there, so we're making strides.
Do you guys take walks?
Well, we're going to be, but we're still on this quarantine within a quarantine, so.
Oh, so you can't even like go outside to walk around the block?
We can. The thing is, like the way her block is, we can walk around her yard and stuff. It's kind of like spread out. It's like a weird suburban road, but there's no actual sidewalk.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's not really like, you can't really journey around it like that, but we're going to be, and that's one of the things that I'm super passionate about is hiking and nature and things like that. So that's something that we're going to be getting into in just a few days. I'm pretty sure, by the grace of God, I do not have COVID. So,
yeah, I'm pretty sure you don't have COVID either, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this might be kind of a too personal question, but Saint Soldier TV asks, how difficult has it been for your fiance to see you, help you, and be there with you through this journey, if you don't mind me asking, of course?
Well, that's, at the end of the day, that's mainly a question for her. But what I can say is this. She has been nothing short of a godsend, an incredible angel throughout this whole process, and has been so selfless and, you know, sacrificed so much. And in all reality, I know it's been very difficult on her, and it's been very hard, but she loves me so much. And we, you know, like, this is a woman that I want to spend the rest of my life with, and for some reason my ugly ass was able to convince her to do the same. So I think that it's as difficult as it's been on her, the thought of not having me be in her life because she loses me to drugs and the horrible things that I was doing, I think that overrides it. So it'd be more difficult for her to just sit by idly. She tried hard. Like, she came and saved my life in 2019 when I was literally in arguably a worse place I was than when I went to treatment, and kind of nursed me to health. And at the end of the day, she did everything she possibly could, but I still had to want it within myself, and I wasn't quite ready at the time. And eventually, by the grace of God, I was. So, but I think it was, it is difficult on her, and it's a struggle, but she is, she's up to the task. And I think that the fact that she works a strong, like if she wasn't working her own strong spiritual program, it'd be a much different story.
Yeah.
But she's doing the work, she's doing the steps in her own way. So I think that in and of itself is a saving grace. If she wasn't, I don't know how it would turn out.
For sure, man. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. Like, I'm very happy that you guys are in each other's lives for a multitude of different reasons, but she's a wonderful woman, and I see like just the overall positive inflection she's left on your life. It's been like absolutely incredible. So having a strong woman in your corner, there's like nothing better. So you're definitely very blessed, Lush. I'll say that much.
Thank you, and I truly am. And I think that the fact that, I don't want to use that as a crutch because I want to have spiritual growth within myself. But the fact that I have that, it just makes it so much easier. She's such a beautiful soul that being in her presence, if you're not willing to better you, it wasn't going to last. Even if we both wanted it to, if I didn't get right, she couldn't have, because she's a source of light, and if I'm either going to be adding to that or draining her.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a wonderful thing too, to like when you're weighing about your addictions, and you're like, if you even want to get sober, is looking at the people around you that you're affecting by it, and it could be a case of like, hey, the damage is done, our relationship is beyond reconcile, and we just need to end it and move on, and I need to go sobriety. But
I've been there too.
Yeah, it's awesome that you have somebody there that's willing to travel with you on the path, because that's incredible. And sobriety is a journey. It's a lifelong journey that will be on forever. It's not like, boom, I'm sober, okay, this is it, done. Like, I'm good forever. It's like I'm done using, I'll never use again. It's okay. So that's incredible.
I wish there was a magical pill we could take, but even if there was a magical pill, then we wouldn't be able to embark on this spiritual journey. And again, that's the drug addict in me, wanting to take another pill, right? But to bring it back, this is another gift of sobriety. My memory is there, so I was able to remember the third piece of the 10-step inventory. It's anytime a resentment pops up, a dishonesty, and here's a crucial one: fear. Because we are driven by fear as addicts. Human beings are driven by fear. Part of it is a survival instinct, but then at a certain point, it inhibits everything that we do. It becomes a huge hindrance on our growth, and that's on a spiritual level and just overall as a person. So anytime that I'm driven by fear, like for example, let me just give you one. The other day, a couple days ago, at my, I received a piece of mail that was sent to me at my sober house, and the guy that runs the house was like, "Hey, you got some mail. When I'm home, I'll read it. If you want, I'll open it for you and read it to you." And I was terrified of what it could be. Oh, the last time I got an unmarked envelope, it was from the LAPD, and they had questions and were investigating me, and maybe this is from some doctor, and there was a mix-up at the lab, and I actually have an incurable disease. Like, my mind is going to all these horrible places. And before, it was affecting my mood. It was affecting my sanity. And, I spoke on it with Marissa, 10-stepped it. I spoke on it with one of my sober homies in Austin, gave him a call. And it just having the conversation. And not only do you hear another human's perspective who's going to put those, because so many times these fears are irrational. They're going to put it in perspective like those were irrational fears. And even if they're not, hearing another human converse with me about it and just merely speaking on it takes away so much power from it. And guess what? It turned out to be some junk mail.
Yeah, word. Well, that's amazing. I mean,
But
yeah.
I let that ruin so many hours of my day. You know what I mean? So that's why, you know, the 10th step is such a valuable tool. The 11th step, the 9th step, resentments, again, you know, number one offender, the number one thing. Like, if you never dealt with those resentments you had, who knows what it would lead you to? You know what I mean? I know for me, it's going to lead me right back to the bag, right back to and I mean the bag of cocaine, you know what I mean? Right back to the bottle, right back to the pills, right back to needing to smoke weed, whatever it is. Like, it's going to lead me back to my addiction 100% of the time. So, you know, it's literally like cancer. When they pop up, I just got to just extract them, get them out of my life.
Hell yeah. Awesome, Lush. Well, that's been an hour, guys. Anything you want to leave the people with, Lush?
Man, much love again. Appreciate this opportunity. Avo and I will continue to do this on a weekly basis. I love talking with y'all. If y'all need any help or want to converse on any sober matters, just reach out to me. You know what I mean? My social media is open. Anybody with a desire to get clean, please continue to support this, as well as the Ruin Your Day Radio Volume 4, dropping on the 17th. Got a hot verse on there with my homies. My YouTube channel, I put out music as well as recovery-based content. So you can subscribe, like, and all that. Really appreciate all of y'all. It's been beautiful chopping it up, and thank you very much.
Hell yeah. All right, Lush, hang out. I'm going to talk to you after the stream. But yeah, guys, peace out. Sunday, I'm doing actually 2 ruining hours, 11 a.m., 12 p.m. 11 a.m. we're having RX on, and at 12 p.m. I'm having SO on. So it's a double feature. See you guys then. Peace out.
Use your power.